a native Houstonian and active community partner, he was first elected to public office as a member of City Council at-large position 4 on December 6, 2003. Controller Green has earned a reputation for common sense fiscal policies that safeguard vital public services. His work has helped improve city programs from competitive bidding and capital projects to pension protection and customer service. He is a champion for effective financial management of the city's enterprise funds, equipment acquisition, and fair housing initiatives. And his efforts on behalf of quality of life issues have won praise from every corner of the community. A 1988 graduate of the Houston Independent School District's High School for Health Professions, Controller Green earned both a Bachelor of Science and a Master of Business Administration degree from the University of Houston, as well as a law degree from Texas Southern University's Thurgood Marshall School of Law. He is licensed to practice law in the state of Texas, the District of Columbia, the Fifth Circuit Court of Appeals, and the United States Supreme Court. Controller Green is also a licensed real estate broker. Controller Green is a founding partner of his own law firm and a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated, 100 Black Men of America Incorporated, UH Alumni Organization, UH Black Alumni Association, Thurgood Marshall School of Law Alumni Association, the Government Finance Officers Association, the National Association of Law Lawyers, Houston Lawyers Association, and Leadership Houston Class 23. He is married to Judge Hillary Harmon Green, Justice of the Peace, Harris County Precinct 7, Place 1. They have a son and are active in their community in the Windsor Village United Methodist Church. Please welcome our keynote speaker, Controller Ronald.
Good evening. Good evening. Can you hear me? All right, good. You know what? I'm excited about being here, and I just always like to have the opportunity to come back to the University of Houston. Now, one of the rules that I have when I give a speech is that it must start and end on the same night. So believe me, you will be out of here tonight. I'll make sure that you get out of here very soon. But I wanted to have the opportunity to come back to the University of Houston. Really to be engaged tonight and really to participate in such a grand affair. First, I want to give greetings to all the dignitaries here, and that would be all of you, but I especially want to single out a few people and those charter members from the Collegiate 100 men and women. It took a lot of guts to do what you did. I also want to give a shout out to Dr. Elwin Lee, who was my Vice President for Student Affairs when I was here at the University of Houston. And as I was preparing this speech, I just realized that it's 2013, and 20 years ago, this semester, my wife and I both graduated for the first time from the University of Houston, so it's actually always an exciting time here, and there's so much changing here that you couldn't help but want to be a part of what's going on. I also want to give you greetings on behalf of all of our members of the 100 Black Men of Houston, 100 Black Men of America Houston chapter, and certainly I see Steve Rose here, who was instrumental in helping you all start this chapter. It is a great organization. There's a lot going on. And I also want to give you greetings on behalf of all of us who are in the 100 who have the honor of serving you in public office. Certainly you hear a lot about elected officials, and for those of us who put ourselves out there, it's always good to be able to come to organizations that we believe are our base of support. So for the 100 Black Men, University of Houston, and this community, I am thankful for where you have put me. Thank you, Mr. McDowell, for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I want to tell you all a little story about how I came to be your speaker, since I've been removed from the university for a few years. I knew about the organization October 18, 2012. I knew that the organization was starting, and at the same time we started other chapters around the area. And I got the opportunity to speak at Prairie View when they started their 100 Black Men Collegiate Chapter. I spoke at TSU's 100 Black Men Collegiate Chapter. So I felt that now that my own undergraduate institution had a 100 chapter, I felt it necessary to seek them out. And I contacted Mr. McDowell, and I said, look, I know you've got the gala coming up, and I want to be your speaker. And so Mr. McDowell, I said, he's like, well, what do you mean you want to be the speaker? I said, well, I'm a graduate of the University of Houston. Live nearby, so you don't have to pay for any travel expenses, anything like that. I get it. He said, you're not ready for the UH Collegiate 100. Okay, I got high self-esteem. I remember the 100. I'm a good alpha man. It's all good. So So I called him back. I said, okay, now you got this gala coming up. It's right around the corner. There's going to be a lot of beautiful people in the room, like there are tonight. Not only did I graduate from the University of Houston once, but I graduated twice. As a black man, University of Houston, I think that's a feat. And so I called Mr. McDowell and asked him again. And he said, you're still not ready to speak before the UH Collegiate 100. So finally I started, my self-esteem was starting to waver here a little bit, and I started to question, what's going on? What's so special about the UH Collegiate 100? Well, I already knew what's so special about it. But I called Mr. McDowell one final time. I said, I'm a lawyer, I'm a controller, the first African-American controller in the city. When I give speeches, I typically charge for it. I said, but for you all, I will do this speech for free. Mr. McDowell said, you are now ready to speak. So that is how I became your speaker. So any way I can get here, I got here. So I'm glad to be here. 50 years ago, when the Collegiate 100 started in New York, it was an organization of 100 black men at the time who wanted to uplift the community. Wanted to make sure that there were positive role models, make sure the kids knew that there were actual African-American men who were not in prison, who were not in gangs, who took care of their families, who did what they were all supposed to do. Went on, embraced education, and really wanted to better the communities. But I can tell you, although there were 100 black men, those 100 black men all had wives, they had mothers, they had daughters, they had sisters. So empowering women is essentially one of the goals of the organization. And to that end, I want to make sure I salute properly the Collegiate 100 women who are here tonight. So would you give those beautiful Collegiate women a round of applause? So the current 100 chapter in Houston has about 125, even 30 members. Started back in 1994, and I remember when it actually started. I was in law school. And one of the lawyers that I worked for was one of the charter members. And I remembered all these men kind of assembling over at the law firm, big-time politicians, or preachers, or doctors, or lawyers. And at that time, I felt that it was exciting that all these men from different organizations, there were different fraternities, there were different churches, there were different everything. They all came together, much like you did on this campus, and said that we need to do more than just our respective individual organizations. And from that, 1994, next year we'll make 20 years for that organization, and I can tell you, it's an organization that's beginning to grow. So I thank the Collegiate 100 here at the University of Houston for doing the same thing. As I said before, I was here at the University of Houston 20 years ago. In fact, the second time around in 2008. So I know what you go through. And so lots of times, and I think as you heard my bio, there are a lot of organizations with the word black that I'm active in. And so a lot of people want to ask you and ask us in this wake of Barack Obama, is it necessary that we have all these black organizations? Especially when you're on a white campus. Sometimes you have to worry about whether they think you're too militant, whether they think you're too this, or think you're too that. Well, I can tell you, there's certainly a need for organizations that uplift African Americans on this campus. I was sitting talking to Dr. Lee, and I told him before I got here, I did my own research to see if much had changed in the 20 years since I've been here. And true enough, much has changed. It's a lot more urban university. It's a lot more diverse. When I came to the University of Houston in 1988, it was 3% black. And there were 30,000 students at that time. And a few of us knew each other, the ones who were here and active on campus. But I found now that there are 12% African Americans on this campus. Only 10% African American males. And people ask me, you need a black organization. So I uplift black males. Females, 14.3%. The degrees awarded here at the University of Houston, of all the degrees awarded, only 7% were obtained by African American males. And people want to ask whether you need a support system for African American males. African American females, 12%. But the 6-year graduation rate, below 40%. After all, we came to the University of Houston to actually graduate. And then what I felt is the most egregious thing on my campus, where I have two degrees, is that the ranked faculty on this campus, 3% African Americans. And when we say ranked faculty, we mean those professors, those tenured professors, like Dr. Lee, who of course was the first African American tenured over at the law school, who's built a legacy of his own. Now, only one African American dean here at the University of Houston. For those of you who are in the College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, Dr. Roberts is probably the only dean you'll see on this campus who looks like you. And then also one vice president, Dr. Lee. And once again, people ask whether there needs to be a support system for African Americans. As a high-profile African American graduate of this university, I get called upon all the time to be that face of diversity. And certainly I take the opportunity to do that because I'm a firm believer in our motto. What they see is what they will be. And if people don't see that there are those of us who are out here and we obtain some sort of rank in society, then it makes it very tough to recruit African Americans to this university. But I never missed the chance to tell Dr. Couture, Dr. Smith, and all the other presidents before her that the numbers are still too small. So while not being a student gives me some freedom, I don't have to worry about them holding up my transcript or anything like that. and I'm a life member of the organization, and I give money to the school. You get to do those types of things. Because as I said before, I'm a firm believer that what you see is what you will be. So anyway, as we go into this whole dynamic of leaving a legacy, you will find that as you leave this university, and I understand some of you will be graduating this semester, I like to tell people I'm writing a book. And that book is called The Only One in the Room. Some of you will get that on the way home. Because as you ascend in your respective careers, this is probably the safest place you will be right now. It's where you see a lot of people who look like you, a lot of people who want you to do well, a lot of people who will be your support system. But as you get into this real world of work, you will find that you will be the only one in the room. And the question I have for many of you is, will you be very quiet in that room and let all the whisper that goes on, typically, Dr. Lee can tell you, I see some parents in here, that people sometimes forget that you wear your race. And that sometimes they think that you're one of the good guys, and they can say what they want around you. And I can tell you, that's something that you've got to be very, very cognizant of. So I'm glad you birthed a legacy here on the campus of the University of Houston. The theme, the birth of a legacy, is quite befitting for a campus such as this. What does legacy mean? If you looked it up in the dictionary, it means to find something passed from one generation to another, anything handed down from an ancestor. And we have a very lengthy list of known people who have left legacies. But some are not so known. Like Dr. Carter G. Woodson, who started Black History Month. Started off with 1 week, just with a series of lectures. Then it became a week, then it became a month. I could go on and on about the Martin Luther King, the Maya Angelou's. But because we're here on the campus of the University of Houston, I want to talk about a few people who are right here. And as you can see, there are a lot of people that you may not know. In Houston, Texas, we've got a lot of legacies. On the campus of the University of Houston, people like Lynn Usan. Many of you know about Lynn Usan Park. You know Lynn Usan's story. Very interesting story. And although Lynn Usan did not live to graduate from the University of Houston, a very, very interesting legacy that she's left. One of the very few African Americans that has any sort of structure or a park named after her on this campus. And I'm proud of the fact that I live across the street from her roommate when she was killed. And so I get these stories about Lynn Usan. So I encourage you all to seek out people who went to this university who can tell you some stories. Somebody like Xavier Lamont, who was the first African-American graduate from the University of Houston Law School. He left a legacy for those of us who go on to law school here. Nia Beckman, who was a professor here and who was instrumental in starting the Black Alumni Association. Gene Locke, who ran for mayor a few years ago, but was one of the main agitators here in the 1960s, one of the first African-American students who made it possible for people like you and myself to be here. And then finally, Dr. Elvin Lee. I mentioned you all, you see him probably all the time, but a lot of people don't know that he was the first African-American tenured over at the law school. Unfortunately, they haven't mentioned any more after him, but we are excited about the fact that he is a legacy, he is a legend nonetheless. But what I was most impressed about the fact that you all had a program recently where you honored Dr. Marguerite Ross Barnett, who was the first female and first African-American president here at the University of Houston. Got the honor of knowing Dr. Barnett. I was here when she came to the university. I was here when she died. And it was a very exciting time. There was a lot of hope and there was a lot of ambition here, and she instilled in all of us. So I think it's quite exciting that you all looked back 20 years ago to find somebody who also made opportunities that actually are certainly legacies here. Dr. Barnett had a very aggressive agenda when she was here. And I believe that there are a lot of people, including Dr. Lee, who are in positions that otherwise would not have been in those positions. So those are the kinds of legacies that you all are a part of and the beneficiaries of. I also like to thank the legacies that the people who left legacies for me. I've had the distinct luck and honor, or whatever you want to call it, to have been brought up in a family where both my parents were married and both my parents lived together. So I got the quote-unquote traditional upbringing. And I grew up right here in Third Ward, right here where your university is located. And don't let anybody tell you that it's located anywhere other than Third Ward. So that's why I'm here. I know they're trying to call it other things, but it's Third Ward. And that's why I bring up those statistics that I brought up, because you are in a very diverse neighborhood, but you are in a very urban neighborhood. But I talk about how my upbringing kind of helped me get where I am. I live in the neighborhood now with some of my teachers. I live not far from Dr. Lee. I live not far from many of the politicians who paved the way for me. Because once again, I could live anywhere in this city. But when I'm at the HEB on Scott and OST, or Walgreens, or CVS, and people, these young kids recognize me, I'm a firm believer that what they see is what they will do. And that not only that they will see me, but they know that I live near them, and that I have a choice of living near them. And so I think that's one of the things here on this campus that you all do. People get to see you on a day-to-day basis. Whether you think that your lateral peers, it's mental. And while it may not be young elementary school children, but a lot of you are examples for people who just get on this campus and find themselves lost, don't know how to matriculate on a college campus. And so I'm thankful that you all decided to offer another avenue. But when I talk about my upbringing, I don't talk about it to say that we're coming from a one-parent family that makes you any less of anybody, whether you know your mother or father, or anything of that sort. I say it to say this, is that you can begin to leave a legacy no matter where you are in life, no matter what you've done in life. There's always the opportunity to leave a legacy. But I can tell you that, make no mistake about it, Houston is a great city. It's one of the most racially and culturally diverse cities on the planet. In fact, this university is the second most diverse university in the entire country. Something to be proud of. But the city has not always been as welcoming with open arms as it is now. 1971, the Houston, Texas City Council, the council in which I served, was all white. It was very difficult for African Americans to get elected citywide. All the seats were citywide seats. There were no district seats. So thankfully, a few lawyers left a legacy for me and many of you who will go on in politics. They filed a lawsuit for single-member districts. And so we were able to get African Americans on the Houston City Council. We were able to get African Americans in many other places in government. And so those people left a legacy. And many of those people are still walking around this city. So when you hear about the Judson Robinson Community Center, Judson Robinson is no longer alive, but his son is still here, and his legacy lives on. And so the city and I have benefited from that legacy, and attorneys have done so much for us. And I guarantee you that students on this campus will benefit from the legacy that you leave. So, as I look back last year, and we think about somebody who has left probably one of the largest legacies for all of us, Dr. Martin Luther King. He had the unveiling of the Martin Luther King Memorial in Washington, D.C. last year. And I got an opportunity to visit that. And I got an opportunity to bring my then 5-year-old to the monument. And to look at what this person did, not because he wanted to leave a legacy, he just really wanted his kids to have a great place to live. And so legacies can be born through necessity once again. Not because you're trying to leave your name on a statue, not because you want a holiday and all that good stuff. It's because you really just want to do something rather than just sit and do nothing. But one of the things that Dr. King, I believe, will tell you today is that the great civil rights movement today is economics. Economic civil rights is where we are losing the battle. The unemployment rate among African American men is 3 times higher than white men. The economic recession caused white folks to lose 15% of their wealth, caused us to lose 50% of our wealth. While the nation is emerging from recession, many families are still trying to find work. They're still below the poverty line, and unfortunately, they'll stay there for a very long time unless we help them. So my question to you is, are you helping others to build a legacy? How many of you have climbed up a ladder? Very easy when you use 2 hands and you use 2 feet and you just climb up the ladder and up the ladder. But it takes you a little bit longer when you climb with 1 hand and you pull with the other. Black Men is all about. That's what this organization is all about. That's what 100 Black Women is all about. Are we pulling people up with us? You all, I have no doubt, will be very successful in life. You're here on a college campus, you're matriculated, but what are you doing for those other people who are not as far along, as advanced as you are? Glad to see my good friend, Mr. Jermaine Patterson. Glad that you all are working with the U.S. Dream Academy, because those kids need to see, once again, what they see is what they will be. So as I kind of take this to a close, I want to say a couple of things to you all. It doesn't matter where you are in life. Arthur Ashe has a saying, start where you are, use what you have, and do what you can. Here on the campus of the University of Houston, who would have thought that a group of 22 individuals would start another Black organization? After all, we have a Black president. Wouldn't everybody, would we all get our 40 acres in the mule then? All right, I thought so. I didn't get mine, so I want to make sure. But that was the impression that was given to America, that it was all right. We're in this post-racial era, which I still don't know what it means. Because if anything, it means it's probably a little bit more racial. But what I can tell you is that while you're here on college campus, do what you can to help not only yourselves and the community around you, but to help those students who may not graduate when you graduate. The unfortunate thing is that once again, as I sit here and I think about this 20 years ago when I graduated from the University of Houston, I can only remember one African-American male who was in orientation with me in 1988. Only one African-American male. All the others had either gone to the University of Houston downtown, nothing wrong with that, had either dropped out of school, they had either gone to TSU, or they gone on, just totally dropped out, or gone to Houston Community College. Nothing wrong with that. But your job is probably a little bit more vast than mine was 20 years ago. The 100 Black Men is here to uplift our community. But you can't uplift your community if you don't have an army of people with you. So the 100 collegiate women and men, once again, I want to congratulate all of you all for having the guts to start a Black organization, another Black organization on a white campus. Yeah, I said it's a white campus. Still a white campus. I want to thank you all for all that you've done. So now, go out, build your legacy, but I also want to congratulate the new members who are coming in today. Certainly, as you move from your first line to your second line, and to all the people who come in, the new inductees, I can tell you, new blood is great for an organization. So go on, continue to build your legacies, and always keep it